Tom and Lisa. We are here at the International Film Festival. I'm Jenna Suru. How are you today? Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, Jenna.
Bonjour, Jenna.
We are very well and happy to be talking with you and meeting you.
Oui, moi aussi. Et d'ailleurs, pour ceux qui nous écoutent en français, Lisa parle parfaitement français et Tom travaille sur son français, n'est-ce pas? Donc, we're gonna do the interview in English, but please feel free to reach out to them because we are so excited at the festival to present you their feature film. It's called The Big Kitty. It's a wonderful film, really paying tribute to many things, including the Hollywood glamour and so much more. And so it's been directed by both of them, so Tom Alberts and Lisa Barmby, and also starring both of them as an artist couple too, right? How did it happen? How did you decide to do this film? What are the origins?
Oh, that one's for you, Tom.
Okay, well, it's my fault. Well, okay, so we're visual artists, and I'm in particularly a painter. Spend my time looking at light, painting figures in rooms, you know, the mise en scene, and in a realistic manner. And I got to wondering if Rembrandt was alive now, or one of the great painters, would they be a filmmaker? And, you know, would Rembrandt be Scorsese or Spielberg or Louis Malle or something? You know, who, you know, should I try my hand at filmmaking? So working where I did, I had access to a lot of lights and cameras and things. I was working in a design department teaching life drawing, and I started borrowing bits and pieces and playing around with cameras, and I realized like you could make a high definition digital movie. This is like some years back, and so, but to me it was a revelation. And also with the new computers and things like After Effects and Final Cut Pro, you could make a movie in your own backyard at quite a good quality. So it's kind of like, it all came together all at the same time. And I really started thinking, should I try this? And it finally happened that I said, okay, I'm gonna make a movie, why not? I'll never be, you know, have more energy, be young enough, or have more money, or I thought, go on, just do it. And I really originally thought it would take a summer, you know, a couple of months with friends, and we'd make a little movie. But then I started getting
Yes, that was one joyful, playful summer with that borrowed camera.
Yeah.
Turned into 11 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so inspiring.
Well, you know, we're not filmmakers. We knew nothing about it. We didn't go to film school.
Wow.
You know, it was just really like a crazy thing to do. But so I started like, how do you make a movie? You know, I love movies. We both love movies. We've been to see thousands and thousands and thousands of movies. We love movies. We loved watching them together. We especially loved the glamorous Hollywood movies of the 40s and 50s.
But also European cinema, all those fabulous 40s and 50s, Italian and French films, especially.
Yeah. You know, crazy screwball comedies, Cary Grant movies, you know.
But also Jacques Tati, Fellini.
Love Fellini. So we loved film, but how do you actually make them? I had a rough idea. I'd made a little 3-minute film once out of the blue. And so then I got Truffaut's book on Hitchcock. I think any filmmaker must read this book, Truffaut interviewing Hitchcock. And there's this kind of really rich pulling apart of how films are made, very visual to me. And I loved Hitchcock especially. And he loved that glamour that Hollywood brought to his films. So off I went. I read books about directing, about acting, about writing a script. I read all these books about 40s script writers and their stories, and I looked at thousands of books on filmmaking and films of the 40s and 50s. So, and bit by bit, I realized, like, if we were going to make a film and we're going to ask our friends to be in it, well, you'd have to give them something to do, and you'd have to give them words to say, and you'd have to give them something to wear. And and it just grew like that. So I started writing a script. I got drunk and wrote a. Yeah,
Oh,
I was quite tipsy one night, and I wrote a list of all the scenes I'd like to see in my 40s film. I decided film noir, and I decided comedy. I love comedy, and so I just wrote a list of all the crazy scenes I'd like to see, and then I started thinking about all of our friends and what they could play. And we know all these artists in Melbourne, this big community of artists, and they're a really talented bunch. They're really an amazing group of individual talents. And I thought they could be in a film.
And we've often discussed them over the dinner tables and all the Hollywood stars and European films. And Melbourne's been a rich city for film festivals for a very long time. There's an Italian film festival every year and the French film festival every year. And so I'd have to say that all of our friends who are in the film are movie buffs as well. And
that's so exciting that you guys share with us this story, because this film is so well made. Our Joey loves it, and it's so glamorous indeed. And you say how it happened is incredible, because you say it with so much humility, you know, like you basically at the beginning just had this idea and then it kind of built on and on, right? And how I'm really interested to know how this builds into your career, you know, as an actor, as a painter. Maybe you both have things to say about that. How does it happen into your career so far?
Oh, just going back a little moment to how you mentioned that it all looks glamorous. Well, one thing we did discuss is that if we're going to make a film, everybody in the film has to look fabulous, as good as they can, and be as beautifully lit and as well dressed. And even if they are a nasty character, and nobody is too nasty, but it had to be done with humour. And we didn't want to send anybody up or make them look stupid or go, oh, I wish I hadn't been in Tom and Lisa's film. We wanted them to enjoy the moment. And that's why it was great that we had a black and white TV screen monitor hooked up to our camera so that they could take us seriously and see how beautiful the set looked and lit and how they would look.
And how beautiful they would look.
And how beautiful they would look.
Yeah.
And then feel confident about playing their role.
Yeah.
And that was an important part of it, building up people's confidence. It was good for our confidence too, having that monitor there. It helped us.
Yeah, certainly. Really, and it's also the magic of cinema, isn't it?
Yeah.
Films look
when they
at a good angle.
Yeah, because when they saw the mayhem of we were filming in people's studios, as in art studios, apartments, houses, any place that was about to be demolished, and it was all mayhem all around, but we had a beautiful set that we'd constructed and lit. And then if you could reduce all that mayhem to one screen, then it looked believable, which was
impressive. And where did you build that set? Because you guys were so international also.
Oh, the set.
The set, well, yeah, as Lisa was saying, there's any space we could get. In fact, sometimes, and I have to pop in that it did take 11 years. So sometimes Lisa walks through a door and 5 years later she comes out into the room, so we had to think very carefully about where could we use. There's only so many spaces that you can get, and we didn't have money to hire a sound stage or anything. We used our studios, our friends' houses. We even asked some friends who had a big studio in the centre of Melbourne, could we film out the back because it's got a beautiful old alleyway? We used the old bits of Melbourne, but some of it was guerrilla filmmaking where we would jump out of the car, put a camera on a stand, and there's one scene where I walk into a beautiful apartment block. Well, we didn't really have permission to do that. We just put a camera up on the street and I walked in. Unfortunately, it took about 11 takes, 11 times to try and get it to look right. And by that time, somebody came out to have a look at what we were doing, and so we had to run away. It was very, very independent filmmaking style.
Yeah, but we had the goodwill of everybody in inner city Melbourne who had any links to the artistic community. I mean, we filmed the bar scene, which is towards the end of the film, and our friend who owns that building, which is a huge bar, hotel, restaurant, she just gave us the keys and said, yep, here you go. It's over to you, and just be out by this time.
Yeah,
and
so
we're completely
people
trusting, and even Tom's art dealer, gallery owner, wanted to be in the film.
Yeah, it became a kind of phenomenon that everybody was saying, oh, you're making a film, can I be in it? And so, but we only wanted Melbourne artists to be in it. So nobody is an actor. These are just people who have no experience sometimes of acting. Okay, you know, that leads to some, problems. You know, you don't give people complicated action sequences to do, or too many words to say. And we learned that you could put up dummy cards and people could read their lines. And
that was very
all these kind of well, they do it in Hollywood.
Do you have BTS pictures? Amazing.
Famously, I'm not sure who it is, but there'd be his dialogue written on the collar of the person he's standing next to, so he could read the lines. There's lots of ways around.
So they have to be looking in the right direction. Yes.
So there's lots of ways to do this. But yeah, we sometimes built quite elaborate sets. There's a lobby scene with a big newsstand that was all built by me with bits of wood and paint and various things. And we built that in the large space in the studios where we both got studios. It's just a big open space. And for a while, I used it to make a scene in the film. And nobody seemed to mind, and I'd take it down really quickly once we were finished.
Well, half the artists in our studio were in the film as well.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes to prepare things and put it together quite quickly, and the people were available, and make costumes quickly, and then do it quickly, and then there'd be months before we could do it again.
Yeah, it was very complicated working with everybody else's schedule. And our own as artists, we might have an exhibition coming up, and so it was very disruptive to our lives, and
we had quite crazy schedules because we both had little part-time jobs or teaching, or and we had all sorts of commitments to things and exhibition deadlines. We kept exhibiting and working as artists the whole time. And, it was very hard to do sometimes.
But our friends kept saying, it's hard to go out. We go to an opening and they'd say, when are we seeing this film of yours?
In 20 years, in 2050.
Yes.
No, I think it's good. How good things take time, right?
They certainly do. And the best things take time.
Yes.
Well, I'm a big fan of David Lynch, and one of the films that really inspired me was Eraserhead, which is his kind of first real feature film, and it's incredible. He made that while doing a paper round and saving up money and getting little bits of unused film from a film laboratory. They'd keep the little offcuts that hadn't been exposed so he could make his film. And it's a masterpiece. I'm not sure our film is a masterpiece, but that was sort of an inspiration. Like, you can do it yourself. You can, you can get together with the people you know and the things you have around you and make something happen. So that was really one of my inspirations, I think, one of our inspirations.
I so much appreciate that you guys had these type of inspirations. And I remember at the beginning, you mentioned Rembrandt, and you guys are right? Rembrandt, he would definitely have considered being a filmmaker, right? And I think it's fascinating how in your work, in the film, The Big Kitty, you used these inspirations for the film, but also it's part of your film, isn't it? In French, we would call this être plasticien, the painting, all the production design. Can you share that? Because you're obviously having this huge career as painters, like as artists, visual artists. So How did it help and support your film?
Well, I think that as artists, you're used to improvising and looking for a solution immediately, and often painting from natural light, setting up still lives, I mean, looking at the fall of light, and wanting, I don't know, what would you say, Tom?
Yeah, I think maybe what Lisa's saying is that, you know, art is one of the forces that we're steeped in, that's our very being. And so that can't help but inform the film. I mean, literally, there's a lot of jokes about art, and there's a very funny character, an artist character in the film. And there's lots of gags and things that, you know, artists would appreciate. But I think one of the things we did was, it's not an art film as such. It's trying to be a straightforward, entertaining Hollywood comedy set in 1949. And so there's a whole bunch of things you kind of can't do. And I don't enjoy seeing a film that's somehow showing off its knowledge or something, or is sort of, or, you know, exhibiting a lot of esoteric knowledge that I have no understanding of. I wanted this, we wanted this film to be fun. And it seems timely, actually. With everything that's happening in the world, it's like an amazing time, a dark time, really. And this film, I think, is, you know, 1 hour that people can just relax, have a laugh, enjoy themselves, be surprised. And there's something very important about that in a worrying and dark time like now, I think.
So in the end, you know, although we can't have a real red carpet launch in a cinema, it's could be, you know, even more beneficial that everybody can watch it online, and more people can watch it than if they were here in Paris. And we've got people messaging from Australia, will we be able to watch it, and when we will be able to watch it. And so
it's a pity,
a good time
but
for a comedy.
it's actually maybe a great thing, you know, this online forum.
For now.
For now.
For now. And you have on the right side.
Oh my God, we will so much love getting back to the cinema when we can, right? And I think I think it's so exciting and it's so wonderful because it actually matches your film, because this is an experimental film and you guys have been growing the idea, and you're absolutely right. You tell your story with so much humility, because when we watch it, we really have that Hollywood glamour vibe. No one could tell you filmed it in your friend's gardens, you know, like, I mean, it's an exaggeration, but it really doesn't show at all. It really looks like this amazing, like, really Hollywood movie. It's really, really refreshing.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's really lovely. I mean, I think that one beautiful thing about both of us being visual artists is that when you look at, if you're visiting a show or a studio or something, and that if you look at a painting and you connect with it, or a work of art, and it transports you elsewhere, and suddenly you've forgotten, and you know, that's the beauty of having a painting that you connect with hanging on your wall in your home, that you know, things can be going a bit rough and you look at that image and it makes you think of something else. And
yes, it's inspiring and it takes you out somewhere.
And
I would add one thing, which you can cut out this bit if we're running out of time. But one of my
censorship.
But you know, like when we started the film, computers and things were in their infancy, and in fact, also our love of cinema was really in another era almost. A lot of the films I went and saw in cinemas on big screens. I'll never forget seeing a new reprint of The Lady from Shanghai by Orson Welles with this gigantic close-up of the actress in it, whose name I can't think of at the moment, but there's just this gigantic head on this screen in this beautiful black and white print, and it was transporting and it was amazing. And another film that had a huge impact on me was Sullivan's Travels by Preston Sturges. I love everything by Preston Sturges. You know, screwball comedy. That is one of my most favourite things. But in Sullivan's Travels, it follows this poor Joel McRae as he goes on the road as a director to sort of to see how the real America is, its poverty and hardship. And it's a great film. And he falls into a kind of a mishap and gets wrongly accused of murder and goes to prison. And in that prison time, he's really miserable. He's actually a famous director, but no one knows where he is. And in this miserable time, he goes into a hall and they show a Mickey Mouse film. And all the convicts and hardened criminals start laughing. And just for a few minutes, everyone's happy. And he suddenly thinks, that is why we have entertainment. That is why we don't just make films about serious issues. Sometimes entertainment really makes a difference to someone's spirit and their day. And I certainly feel that watching a great comedy keeps me up for days. And it's not a small thing. It's it seems to me there's a lot of bad news and a lot of things we should be concerned about. But sometimes I think, in a really serious way, I think it's good to laugh.
And comedy is really powerful also to tell very serious messages, isn't it? It's interesting, the power of comedy. And I love the comedy in your film. It's like a character in the film. Like it's very specific. It's appreciable.
Well, you know what they say in Hollywood? Don't make a comedy. Don't use your friends. Don't use your own money. Don't work with children. Don't work with animals. And we did them all.
Did everything.
Did it all. It should have been a disaster.
This is why we love it, you know? This is why we love it. It's because you created, you mentioned, I don't know if it's a masterpiece. Well, it's definitely a unique piece, right? And a brilliant one. It's different. You did it with your heart. You did it with all your skills. And you did it together with so much support. So that's something really inspiring. And you guys must be really thrilled by this screening at Paris, right? Because you have a special relationship with Paris.
Yeah.
Yes, and we do have a little bit filmed in Paris. With the
really? Oh, okay.
Our friend Jean de la Demel, who also was a great help for the subtitles, who is a great cinema fan as well and fantastic with the French argot of the 40s. And so we filmed, Jean is a great friend that I met.
And he kept saying, I want to be in it, I want to be in it.
I said, well, we'll have a discussion. I'll have a discussion with my fellow director.
Because we were coming to Paris regularly. We've been coming to Paris all these years, every other year. And we'd show little bits of the film to our friends here. And Jean was saying, I want to be in it, I want to be in it.
He said, you always promised me, Lisa.
And one year we came, I wrote some stuff and I said, you can be a character, but we just couldn't do it. And I was really upset.
He's always very busy.
He's always very busy. He's a very talented graphic designer and artist.
And DJ.
And
wow.
With a busy life, everybody in Paris is busy. And finally, we got a little window of opportunity and we filmed that scene here in Paris, where the Frenchman is waiting in a corridor and we go down some stairs.
In the stairwell of the apartment we were renting.
Yeah, so it was really, and we've never, ever regretted that. It was very, very hard to do. We didn't have hardly any equipment, but we did it quickly and we did it well and it got to be in the film. And Jean's really thrilled.
And we love it.
Yeah.
We love that there's a little bit of real Paris.
A little bit of Paris.
Oh, that's wonderful. But it's now officially also filmed in Paris. That's really cool. And as rumor has it, you guys are also based in Paris here, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
Each other.
Yeah, we're in the 5th and surrounded by the art house cinemas that I just love to go to. And, I really wish they were open.
Yeah, we really wish they were open.
And yeah, I even used to be in Usherette years ago at Cinema Le Saint-Germain-des-Prés and Balzac.
Beautiful ones, yes.
We are great fans of the art house cinemas of Paris. And so it's good. And still friends with my lady across the road, she was my boss, the box office lady from Cinema Le Saint-Germain-des-Prés.
Oh,
And all these amazing characters. Yeah.
And we love that French people seem to love cinema. It's a very special relationship. And, you know, some of my favourite films are by French directors. I like a strange film called Providence, I think it's called. And I can't think of the director just this minute, but yeah,
we love cinema. We're big fans, and we love also all the culture around it, you know, like the different art forms like painting or plasticity on themselves. And also, I guess, the glamour behind it, right? Because a lot of the greatest pieces of cinema are also from a few years ago, right? Like the movies you pay tribute to in your film.
Yeah.
Something we really appreciate.
The Big Sleep, the Maltese Falcon, Lady from Shanghai I mentioned, there's a Double Indemnity. And it's, you know, that beautiful 40s, 50s styling where they spend a lot of time and trouble on making people look, you know, superhuman. And it was all done by hand. Digital trickery didn't exist. So people actually had to be lit and sculpted and shaped to look as good as they could.
Yeah, they spent hours in the makeup department. And a lot of the men were wearing girdles as well. Figure shapers. Clark Gable especially.
It took the time, right, to make things look the best they could be.
Yeah.
And that really suited the possibilities we had, you know, that really suited the possibility. I mean, to shoot in black and white means you don't have as many problems as you have when you shoot in colour. So that was, you know, and film noir, as it became known, these kind of B movies in Hollywood, they made a feature of the fact that they couldn't afford all the lighting and all the technicians. So they cut it down. They just left parts of the set black because you didn't have to build something there. It was a way of avoiding their small budgets. So, you know, we had the same problems. We really built and made everything ourselves. We had no budget. So, you know, crazy things. You know.
But then we grew fond of some of the sets, like the bar scene with this big bar, 1940s bar that we constructed in our lounge room. It looks so authentic that we wanted to invite people over to have a drink. We didn't want to dismantle it.
Oh, you guys had a great time, right? Making this film.
Yeah.
You have so much passion for every aspect.
Yeah. Yep, I think we did have a great time. It wasn't always easy. And we also made a pact between ourselves that we kept all the, you know, sometimes we were like, you know, it wasn't fun. It was very difficult. And sometimes we lost our tempers, but we kept that away from everyone who was making the film. You know, we made sure it was a happy set and everybody had a nice time. And we always finished with a bottle of champagne. And we look at the
and a meal.
And a meal. And yeah, we really made...
And taxi fares.
Yep.
Yes, that's important.
So we let everybody had a great feeling doing it. And they just wondered when the hell we would finish it. And it did take a long time.
And now it's finished.
Yeah.
Yes, and in a festival.
In a festival, that's just fantastic. We did a cast and crew screening online because in Australia it was COVID confinement there. Yeah. Although we were actually out of confinement in Paris. So it was great. We had, like, everyone was at home and everybody who worked on the film was just sitting at home and loved to have that event. And we all did it together. We had a big Zoom meeting with lots and lots of people on the screen.
Oh,
and it was there was a very, very good feeling about it.
We had a lot of feedback and a lot of...
People wrote wonderful reviews to us. People, you know, I think everybody was really pleased that they were part of it because it became like, you know, like a group thing. So it was a really interesting experiment. And, you know, Lisa and me, we go to our rooms, we close the door and we work on our things. You know, mostly artists are just solitary. So to do this huge collaborative project over 11 years was just so incredibly strange and difficult, and we just really.
But we did it.
We did it.
And we finished it.
And we finished it.
Congratulations. And it's so wonderful to hear also such positive stories, right? Because even in confinement, you bring joy to all these people who supported you, and your supporters also from now who watch your film. It's great that you share these great moments, because right now they're really precious, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think so. And we had amazing.
Oh, sorry, please, Lisa, you wanted to say something?
We had amazing help for post-production, though. We were stuck technically, and so we had a life model who was also acting in our film, and he had a contact, a friend, and who is a professional post-production person for the famous films, and he introduced us to her. She came over and saw a little bit of it. She liked what she saw, asked if she can have it on a key stick. Can I show it to a friend? She said she loves it, her friend loves it, and they'd like to help us finish it on a technical level, because we were a bit stuck. So we had a great editor and sound engineer.
That's important. And it shows, technically it's perfect.
I think it's not well known, but, you know, making a film, the bit where you actually, you know, film people and they do their lines and all of that, is really just a fraction of what filmmaking is. And one of the greatest mysteries was, what is post-production?
Yeah, and that we got stuck on.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading blogs on digital cinema packages and getting very afraid, because it, you know, and codecs and you know, encoding and all of this stuff. I eventually understood it, but I was thinking, can I do that myself?
Yeah, and that might add another 5 years to the release of the film.
Like we made the soundtrack, which I think really fits the film. We made it from online, copyright-free, old things. Archive.org is an amazing amount of stuff there. But I knew nothing about music. I just found all the bits I liked. It took me about 2 years. It almost killed me, because I'm not a musician.
Oh, wow.
But this sound engineer that worked on it, Keith Thomas, a genius. He just, you know, because some of the bits of music had someone closing a door or a gunshot, he could actually take that out, you know, and so we could use this bit of old copyright-free movie music.
And take the crackles.
And the crackles. And
out of the music. That sounded really old.
So, you know, there's a reason these people are expensive. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah,
and they did it for free or for very little money for us, because they were just shocked and delighted that someone had made a whole feature film independently out of the blue, like we did.
Yeah.
They were really shocked.
You made this.
You made a whole film.
Shocked too, if I have to be honest. No, I'm kidding. No, it makes sense, right?
Because
it's so different. It's so different from what we see, and it's why also it's so refreshing.
Yeah, well, in the industry, people want to make films, but they wait until they get the money. And, you know, it makes sense, because it's so hard to make a film, and it takes so long. If you don't have much money, it's almost impossible.
And if you don't have 11 years.
If you don't have 11 years.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But, you know, I was heartened to read about people like Cassavetes, for example, who would make a film over a period of years when he got the money. He'd go away and do Rosemary's Baby, you know, act in that film, get paid a good amount of money, and then he'd spend it on his own films. Yes. And so, you know, it's not, you know, Orson Welles, you know, quite famously was making bits of film when he could, when he had some money. So I feel like, you know, it's understandable why people wait to get money. But if you don't want to wait, maybe there's ways to do it.
I have Monsieur Baptiste here. I'm going to try and present him to the camera.
Yes, please. Monsieur Baptiste is around. Yes.
The star about
we love having the cast. Oh, so is he the kitty? Oh.
Who's now international. He took him 75 hours.
Can you wave at us? Bonjour, Monsieur Baptiste.
He's waving.
Yes, yes, we have a cast with us.
Yeah, it's
But-
great.
I think we probably have, at the end of all of this process, like real respect and love for the people that do make cinema, and for all the other people such as yourself who celebrate what people have done and show it in cinema. It's, you know, a world that we've strangely always loved and kind of half joined now.
Yes, you're part of this world. With us, really, really excited. If there was one thing you would like the audience, your audience, to take away from watching your film, do you know what it would be?
Is to laugh out loud and forget the worries of the moment.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes, that's really important. I'm sure Monsieur Baptiste agrees. He's adorable. He's adorable. Thank you so much, everyone who is watching and listening. This is Lisa and Tom, and we're so excited to present their film, The Big T, at the festival. Please, please support us, support our films. Please share their work. We also shared some of their artworks on our social media. Check their page out. We always need a good love, but probably now more than ever, and definitely we need to remember the magic of cinema. So thanks so much to you guys for bringing that to us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenna.
Yeah.